Hello, everybody. First of all, sorry for my voice, arriving to Berlin, meeting friends, stuff like this. So I was thinking that when you do a 7-minute talk, the title should be both simple and controversial. So this is what I went with. Your first game doesn't have to be simple or standard. And this is my attempt to build my first game, basically. So, and we start off with showing this big piece of code in C#, because everybody loves C#, I guess. And for me, building this particular game was more about remembering what I used to love but started to miss. This is mathematics and trigonometry, because I work as a web developer, and we don't do all this stuff often, And to use the real data, you first need to find the source of the real data. And in my case, I started with basically searching in a GitHub for, in this case, it's GeoJSON with the information about coastline borders. And also my game includes airports, which means I needed to find the information about airports as well, which is a bit trickier. But I managed to find some not perfect but good repository with some information about, well, what seems to be all the airports of the world. And a little refresher, so all this stuff, it has coordinates like longitude and latitude. This is how you transform it to 3D space, so basically both latitude and longitude are angles. And the formula is really simple to transform it to a coordinate in the 3D space. So this was like the first attempt. I used the mesh, like array mesh, and the primitive type line strip to draw the lines, basically. Maybe you don't see it well, but it's like reversed because you're like inside the globe. The next big thing that you need to do in order to reconstruct the surface is polygon triangulation. And you need to do this because, well, that's a huge topic, actually. It was a separate discussion. But as you may see on this image, my first attempt to do this was not very good, because it's basically like you do the triangulation and then you try to bend this all on a 3D surface, which is globe, and things might go wrong. But after several attempts, this is what I managed to get. So it's like a bunch of meshes, like the countries, the rims of the countries, which is like the surfaces are elevated to the degree, like with the proper elevation, like average elevation of the country. Also, in my particular case, well, I didn't tell the game about the game yet, but we'll get to this. In my particular case, I also needed to get like all the big cities and airports and place them on the map as well. So fortunately, when you use a mesh, like array mesh, you can add several surfaces, and you can hide or show these surfaces if you need. And you can also add a collision shape and basically do like, if you select a country with a mouse, you can highlight things that, like cities or airports that are in this country. Also, one of the things that were important for me is creating several game scenarios. And like I describe scenario in a JSON file. It's basically like a description of what airports are available, what cities are available, how the camera should be placed, what events should be happening, stuff like this, like literally anything. And this is kind of result of adding several actions, adding dialogue, adding cities, and as you might see, it's like super flexible because you can create several scenarios and execute whatever scenario you want. And it's achieved by creating well, those of you who used object-oriented languages before, I guess all of you, they know it's basically all the actions, they kind of implement the basic action, and when you execute a scenario, you just kind of call the base function, which is being overridden in subclasses. So this is, in my case, a class that allows a camera to fly to a particular place on the Earth. And also, well, it's a lot of code, I know, but yeah. So also, it was important to create a proper game manager that handles all the state, so that the state might be serialized. Also, in the future, uploaded online, stuff like this, and also for multiplayer. And yes, this is what I ended up with. It's 2 airports, in this case, I guess, Amsterdam and Luxembourg, connected. You might see bases, which is airports, planes, roads, some statistics, some missions that you currently have, as well as a timer and money that you have. And that's a rapid transition, I guess, but this is what I ended up with after playing a little bit with the style, after, well, I will get to this a little later, but yeah. So the most important thing here is that I applied a texture, hit all the surfaces and made them visible only when I need them. But for the shader, I used this particular shader, which is very nice and does its work. I added the sun as well to make it more real. And then I kind of lost myself in this trap of trying to make things real. And a bit about the game. So it's a strategy game about running your own airline. It's real airports, real cities, and yeah, so stuff like that. And the geographical part, all the visuals will be open sourced. And the reason for this is that I actually tried, well, currently I'm lost in doing a proper 3D. And I try to port Unity shaders that were created for this Unity game, but to Godot. And yes, so it's going to be in a week or so, it's going to be finished, I suppose. And then you might find it in the repository of the game. So far, I only did the height map, but then you have to reconstruct the globe, basically, according to the height map. So basically that's it. You can find the game on Twitter, you can find me on Twitter, and you can follow, because I will open source all that stuff.